All right, it's 6:34, and I will go ahead and call the King William Board of King William Board of Zoning Appeals meeting to order. Ms. Grover, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Nolan,
Here.
Mr. Fogg,
Here.
Mr. Bailey,
Here.
Ms. Broderick, and Ms. Walker.
Here. Okay, next we have the review and adoption of the meeting agenda. If there are no changes, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve it as written.
Okay, do we have a second? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Aye. Okay, the meeting agenda is adopted. Next, we have approval of the minutes for January 18th, 2023. Does anyone have any changes? Is there any discussion?
No changes. I'll make a motion to approve them as written.
Okay, do we have a second? All right, it's properly second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is there anyone opposed? All right, and next we have the public comment hearing. Yeah, I'm doing that right now. Okay. If you wish to speak on non-public hearing matters not relating to the variance request we have before us this evening, now is the time to do so. There will be one opportunity of 3 minutes per individual or 5 minutes per group or organization. Please make sure you state your name and the district in which you reside. I will go ahead and open the public comment period. And this is not for the variance before us tonight. All right, doesn't look like we have anyone that wants. Hearing no participants, I will go ahead and close the public comment period. All right, as we proceed with our hearing, the hearing will proceed as follows. First, the case will be presented by the zoning administrator, Ms. Grover. Then a statement from the application will be permitted. Then we will have public hearing section of those in favor, followed by those opposed. Then the applicant will have the opportunity for closing remarks or rebuttal. During the hearing, the board may present questions to the applicant or zoning administrator as granted by the chair. If there is no objection, we will go ahead and move on to the public, or sorry. Or are you presenting? Sorry, it's being presented by Ms. Graham, not Ms. Grover.
Good evening, everyone. So tonight we have a request for a variance for reduction of a required lot size. The property is owned AC and it's on Nelson's Bridge Road, which it requires a 5-acre minimum lot size. The property owner is requesting a variance to gift 2 acres to somebody to help them with an accessible housing need. So with that, we had some drawings of the plat, but tonight you had this one that was put on your in front of you. There is going to need to be one change on this. The minimum width of the frontage would need to be 300. So they would need to move that over to make it 300 instead of the 295.86. The applicant purchased the property in November of last year. His only interest is that he is gifting the land. And then the rest of it he plans to place in a conservation easement. In the area on the side that this property is located, there are large parcels, mainly farmland. Across the street, there's a mix of large parcels and 1-acre parcels. And we do have the applicant here Kevin Engel, to speak. I'll be glad to answer any questions. But he is also here as well, to speak, and there may be others that would like to speak as well.
Question.
Mhm.
What is the hardship?
Well, it's the person with, disabilities, he's gifting it to them.
Okay, but I know, what is the hardship that we would change from 5 acres to 2?
He's wanting to gift this to somebody with disabilities to try to help them with accessible housing.
That is, I'm not trying to be rude, that doesn't answer my question.
Yeah.
I mean, what is, or should I ask?
Yeah,
Okay,
let the applicant explain.
Any,
Sure.
Yeah, sorry. Does
Just one
anyone
quick-
have any questions?
Just one quick question. Any change to the lot depth? Or does it meet the requirement?
it's the width, not the depth.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So you don't need 300-foot frontage on the other road too then?
No,
Okay.
that's a private lane. So
I do know there's a gravel road next to this property. They would be able to meet the setbacks for the building.
it's because it's like a drive and it's not a public road.
Okay.
So
My question is, you didn't receive any comments from any of the neighboring landholders that were adverse to this?
we had a few people call with some questions, but nobody called to express opposition.
Any further questions for Ms. Green?
it was just, I guess this just came in this evening
Mhm.
after I came by today. And this is part of the required, application to like sketch out, and mark it. Has a lot been flagged, the 2 corners or the.
They did have it marked at one time when our inspector went out to take pictures. And we do have a PowerPoint that may show that on there.
Madam Chair, could I please speak into the mic?
Sorry.
Yeah.
All right, thank
you.
So here are some of the pictures of the site when Mr. Lewis did the posting. I don't see the flag. There's some flag there. And then if you want to go back up for it, does have some of the other paperwork on it. All right, we can see from the area, that's the parcel that they are proposing.
Sherry, is it up in the, what would be the northeast corner on this map, the upper right?
Mhm.
Okay,
Right there.
thank you.
Okay.
If there's no further questions for Ms. Graham, we can go ahead and hear from the applicant.
Okay.
We are doing this evening. Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Chair, board members. Thank you very much for letting us address you tonight about this issue. My name is Kevin Engel. I represent Engel Farms Incorporated, who is owned by my wife and I and my family with Engel Family Farms, with my wife and I and our 3 adult hardworking children. And this thing started quite a few years ago, actually, when Justin and my son were both about 3 to 4 years old. They became good friends and they worked together in skate land and quite a few other fundraising events, as they have done so throughout their life to help others. And Justin unfortunately had a bad accident and left him in a handicapped situation. Justin is not my blood kin, but he is part of our family, as well as his grandmother and his grandfather. They're part of our family. If I had to adopt them all, I would. But, I hope it doesn't have to go that far, but, just for the lack of time and paperwork. But, we think a whole lot of Justin, and Justin's had many goals in life, and he's achieved quite a few of them. He put himself through college. He became an engineer. He designs and works for the city gas, Richmond Gas Works. And he does a lot of other projects around in the community and out of the community to help people with his handicaps attain equipment that they need. He needs to spend money on a building, a home. That's one of his goals, is to have a home for his own, just like all of us probably have homes of our own. I don't think there's many people in here that are homeless. I don't think there are many people in here probably renting their home. He wants his own home. We want him to have one. He has limited money to work with. And he's got to spend a little extra money on his home other than people like us do. With his handicaps, he's got to have a lot of special extra equipment to accommodate his handicap so he can live as normal as possible. To do that, we started about 10 years looking for a house and some land and trying to find a way to accommodate a house that would accommodate his handicap. We've looked at many. We've never found anything. About 3 years ago, I started trying to buy this land for our family that we're talking about cutting this lot off for. And I made a promise to Justin then that if we ever got it acquired, we were going to give him 2 acres off of it to build a home so that he could use money that would have cost him a lot to go towards that special equipment and building a home. Yet it would be close to his grandparents where he currently resides. And he resides in an area much smaller than the area that you all are sitting in right now. And it's kind of tight quarters. So he needs to spread his wings a little bit, and he needs to be able to have the equipment to do so. And we are requesting very humbly to make this a variance to 2 acres instead of 5. He doesn't need 5 acres to have to take care of and handle. I don't know that I'm a little bit older than Justin. I probably won't always be here to help mow his grass and take care of it, but somebody hopefully will. But I'm pretty sure my children will do the best they can. But he needs to spend money on equipment, not land. And we think this would be a good opportunity for him to reach his main goal in life, which is having a home and living as close to normal as he can and being a productive member of society, which he has tried to the best of his ability to be all along. So I would hope and pray that you would grant this zoning request. Thank you.
Okay, does anyone have any questions for the applicant?
Yeah, the question I had for her, I'm trying to understand why this is a hardship to do 5 acres instead of 2.
Well, Mr. Bailey, he doesn't need 5 acres. This man is in a situation where he doesn't need 5 acres. If you take another 3 acres, you're creating a hardship on our family.
How so?
Well, it's promises and guarantees that I've made. I have a business that I run. I'm a farmer. I'm in the business of growing crops and generating food to feed people like yourself and everybody else that's in here. It's hard work. It's a lot of hours. It's a lot of time.
Don't get mad.
I'm not. I'm just explaining to you this situation, and it takes a lot of dedication. It takes a lot of loans. I borrow a lot of money, and I make those commitments to the banker of what I'm going to do when they agree to let me do things.
I remember you told me that. It's just, I found it odd that you that you promised only 2 acres instead of 5? I'm sure you know the zoning laws.
I-
I'm sure you're familiar with that.
With all sincerity, sir, when I made these promises to the bank, I was not aware of the zoning laws. If I were then, I assure you I would have done something differently, but I'm not. I wasn't at that time.
So
I apologize for that.
I don't know. What would you have done differently? What do you mean? I don't know.
Sir,
What would you have done differently?
I would have tried to consider having the 5 acres carved off instead of the 2, but the agreement that I have with my lender is that I was going to carve off 2. And also, part of my package was putting the rest of the land into a conservation easement. And that is part of my land payout program. And all of that paperwork has been started, pertaining to the 2 acres. So we would have to start all over again and create delays. Considerable delays.
Well, like we spoke, the conservation easement, that's a tax thing, correct? That's just where you promise the state not to develop it. Is that what a conservation easement is?
Partly, yes, sir.
And then, there's tax credits received, and that's, or are you afraid that 3 acres will reduce that or reduce, I don't understand, I guess you got permission to do 2 acres, but not from your lender.
And also we've done the paperwork. We've started the paperwork on the easement. And it's tax credits that you sell at a reduced price to other people that need them.
I understand.
Yes, sir.
So the hardship is you can't afford to give 5 acres, or you're afraid you can't cut 5 acres of grass. I'm not being smart. I'm just trying to understand.
I'll speak on that. So at 5 acres right now, I live on barely an acre with my grandparents. My grandfather's 80-something years old. My grandma's 70-something years old. They've been taking care of me for the last 21 years. I've been in a wheelchair. It's hard enough for us to maintain 1 acre alone with that. At the 2, it's reasonable for what I need based on what the county setbacks are and everything else. To build a handicap accessible home, the square footage that I need, it's not going to be feasible to build a small building at 500 or 600 square foot. It's bigger than what I live in now, but it's not going to work. As far as the hardship goes, for me to have a lawn care service to come in and cut the grass and maintain the yard, things like that, I really can't afford it. I mean, I'm sitting here right now talking to you with the stage 4 pressure sword I'm not even supposed to be sitting on. The last 5 months, I've been paying for medical stuff that are expenses that you as a walking person or anybody else would not occur. So I have to put my expenses on me being able to get up to go to work and be able to live every day, and to be able to pay a lawn care service $100, $200 a month to mow 5 acres of grass or whatever to treat it. It's just something I really don't have.
I live on 5 acres, but I only have like a front. You don't have to grass the whole thing. Yeah, I mean, you understand, it's like if the lot's bigger, you let it go natural. You have a front yard and a backyard that you cut. That would, whether I live on 1 acre, 10 acres, 15. If I live on 15 acres, I wouldn't cut 15 acres of grass. I don't understand. I'm trying to understand the hardship of the 5 acres. It's my understanding that it's not supposed to be a financial hardship. Is that correct? Like, we're not supposed to, the fact that is that right? I'm the newest member of newest member of the board. So the financial hardship, I mean, you don't plant 5 acres of grass if you have 5 acres. And I didn't write the zoning laws. The zoning laws just say in that AC, it's supposed to be 5 acres if you cut off. So that's what I'm trying to understand, the hardship. I mean, that's why we come and have the meetings, because somebody doesn't want to follow the rules or the zoning, and there's a reason. I mean, so I don't understand the fact that you think there'll be too much grass. Just don't plant grass. I mean, it's on 5 acres versus the 2. I don't understand why. Again, I don't know what you spoke with your lenders and all that, but that sounds like a financial consideration, which is my understanding. I may be wrong, that I'm not supposed to be concerned about.
What I'm hearing is that's just one small component of it, and it's our job to consider how different things the applicant is willing to do can offset the detriment of the smaller lot. So, Mr. Engel, where are you with in the process of the conservation easement? What's the status of that?
I acquired the property in November. We immediately did the paperwork to sign up for that. It usually takes about a year for all of the paperwork to be completed. The Virginia Wildlife Foundation or whoever would be the owner of the easement to allocate the credits and then to sell the tax credits to folks that could benefit by having them when they pay their taxes. It usually takes about a year to go through that. We have some goals of our own and with other properties, and we need to expedite that as fast as we can to reach those goals. And by getting that conservation easement put on, it's also what I promised the previous landowners who held that property for 40 years and would not consider selling it to anybody other than someone that was going to use it for agricultural purposes. But they did approve to allow me to do a 2-acre lot off of it for Justin after reading about Justin's case. I did not ask them about 5. And so it would be going back on my word there as well. And I try to be a man of my word.
I think it's a very honorable thing that you're trying to do here. I think you've made reasonable and practical arguments justifying the requested relief. One of them being the reduced amount of maintenance required on Justin.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, I don't remember your last name.
Spurlock Engel.
I was going there next with my next point. Keeping the family and the extended family close, especially
Yes,
with Justin's needs, his special needs. And the remaining property is going to be preserved
yes, sir.
through an open space or some sort of preservation easement, preserved from future development. So there's not a density question. The 5 acres is there to speak to the density question. I think you're resolving that by putting the balance of your acreage in conservation. The other thing is there are a lot of neighboring properties that are already on smaller lots, 1 and 2 acre lots. So you're not changing the fabric of the neighborhood. I don't think. So for those reasons, so far I'm supportive of what you're doing. And those are some of the benefits that offset the detriment of the 2 acres. I would ask or suggest one thing. If you're pretty far out from the conservation easement being recorded, would you consider, when you carve off this 2 acres, would you consider restricting another 3 acres next to it from future development until such time as the conservation easement is recorded? And at that point, that deed restriction would extinguish automatically.
I'd be happy to do that, sir.
Because that would be consistent with the 5 acre zoning. And if I'm not mistaken, isn't there a lot size averaging component in our zoning ordinance?
Are you asking for the AC district?
Yeah.
It's required 5 acres.
Required 5 acres for
Yeah.
averaging. So, because you're not changing the fabric of the neighborhood and because of all these other benefits that I see. I'll stop there.
I'd be happy to do what you suggest.
I see it the same way as Michael. The neighborhood does have a lot of smaller homes very, very nearby, and the preservation of the rest of the acreage makes sense to me. So, and I think that even if owning 5 acres, even if you only have a half acre of grass, you still have to be watching 5 acres. There's things you have to do when you own 5 acres that may be difficult. for Mr. Spurlock to do.
Well, and also it takes the other 3 acres out of good agricultural.
Right.
Production.
And you have to pay taxes on it.
Question, I guess Mr. Spurlock says he's here. Uh, what do you plan on building?
Just a regular rancher style home,
How many bedrooms?
2, one for me and one for my living nurse.
Um, I mean, it sounds stuff I usually wouldn't ask, but I mean, do you already have the financing lined up? Because I can own land, but not have the wherewithal to build something.
Right now, I'm on track to make that happen. If you're asking me if I've got 300 grand to build a house right now in my pocket, no.
If I may, it's a little bit easier to get a construction loan if you already own the land. If
Oh,
you,
I understand.
Yep.
I mean, I appreciate your situation. Would 1 acre be enough? But why don't we just do 1 acre instead of 2? I mean, how did you come up with 2?
I felt like he probably needed at least 2 so that when we got around to doing the drain field and septic, that there would be plenty of room to keep the well away from the drain field and the alternate drain field. If I'm correct, I believe you require an alternate drain field as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, it seems like that wasn't the best.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
and do you need 2 acres when you have well and septic?
You do need a primary and a reserve location, and then your well needs to be a minimum of 100 feet from. the
Either one of them.
location.
Yeah.
And how far from the house? 50? Well,
The well, I believe it is 50. There's
Well,
10 foot for the septic tank.
I mean, by this sketch, I can't tell if that's gonna be adequate or not. I mean, that's what I would say is. It would be interesting to see, I mean, when you're gonna build something ADA compliant. I mean, instead of just. Cutting off 2 acres and then it just never happens or something else is done later. Could we see what the proposed, like a sketch where the house goes, what the house is ADA compliant? I don't know, that might be asking for a lot. I still don't understand the hardship. I don't see
I
the
think-
hardship here.
I think the zoning officer will take care of that during the
No, I
building
accept that.
application process.
So once this is done, this is done. I mean, is there ways that we can say it's like, before you cut this off, we need to see that it's gonna be like ADA compliant and this fits a drain field for a 2-bedroom, because that's all you're gonna get on there according to his soil scientist.
You can't make, so
I'm just
So the
asking.
variance can't address Mr. Spurlock.
I know,
himself.
I know, but Mr. Spurlock is the hardship here. This is what's been presented. So the hardship should be to Mr. Engel. And I don't understand the hardship. I'm not trying to, it's just, I thought we're supposed to figure out if there's a hardship. I don't see a valid hardship.
He's not going to address the ADA issues until he gets into the construction plan phase. And then his construction plans would have to address the needs of the doorways and counter spaces and everything, the ramp, elevation and that type of thing. By the zoning ordinance, he has to meet setbacks. So.
Yeah, he's only asked for relief from the area requirement. All the other zoning setbacks would have to comply.
Yeah, of course, that's your time to speak.
Mr. Bailey, I appreciate your thoughts and your concerns. And I don't know if this helps any or not. But my family is very dedicated to seeing Justin get this. And, but Justin is also a very, independent young man, where he tries to accomplish as much as he can on his own. Please don't take what I'm going to say wrong or interpret it. I'm just kind of a plain spoken guy.
So am I.
Yes, sir. But if I'm breathing, this young man's going to get that building. He's going to get that home somehow.
is it possible? Let me ask you. Could he give him 5 acres and then after it all said and done, have a variance to cut the back 3 off or something where it's like something says like, if all goes as said, then you can give 3 acres back to the 134 acre tract of land. I mean, is that something that, I mean, all right, you just have to go through this
The variance.
a year or 2 from now, or 3 or 4 or 5. I mean, do you have immediate plans to build? I mean, I guess the immediacy is you just want to finish your application, right? It's not really for Justin to start building.
We've been working on this project for 10 years. I want to see it happen.
Continue project of purchasing the neighboring property.
No, sir. We've been working on that for 3.5. The concept of Justin having his own home that's set up for him to use for 10 years. And I think it is our goal that within 12 months, he's in this building.
That's pending contractor availability.
And
We all know how that goes. Sometimes you have to be a little flexible, but
and
you
then-
got to have a goal to start with.
Yeah, question for you. I'm looking at this. I guess this is a piece of land, and this is your land that you've already made.
Yes, sir.
Did you ever think in 10 years to like cut 2 acres right there?
No, sir.
Right.
And there's a reason for that if you're interested. We have a lot of farming that we do throughout the state. And we use on that picture, you'll see a barn. There's also a large fertilizer building there, nitrogen tanks, bulk seed tanks. That picture may be a little old and might not show all of that, as well as a lot of irrigation equipment. And there's a lot of activity coming in and out of that road right there with tractor trailers and farm service trucks and stuff. And it would not be a very peaceful spot. Plus, right there in that corner is a low spot and it holds water. And the ditches along Nelson's Bridge Road are not low enough to drain the water out of that area on most times. Plus, that whole farm is in an easement.
And you've already cut your house off on it, I guess, because didn't that get like one house, up to 10 acres?
Yes, sir.
So you can,
And that house was built there when I bought the property.
2004,
Sir?
2004?
Yes, sir.
Right, are there any further questions for the applicant?
I'm satisfied.
I have no further questions.
All right, if there's no objection, we will go ahead and move on to the public hearing for variance B 04-22 from Ingle Farms Incorporated. All right, if anyone wants to speak in favor of the application, there will be an opportunity of 3 minutes per individual or 5 minutes per group or organization. Please be sure to state your name and the district that you reside in.
Good evening. My name is Gene Campbell. I reside here in the 2nd District at the 446 White Oak Landing Lane. And I'm here tonight to speak on behalf of Justin and in favor of approving this zoning variance. Justin is the type of individual that I would love to see in King William County. And he has shown me, I've known him for several years, that he's an astute businessman and a fine fella, and we should do everything that we can to accommodate him. And I don't think this slight variance is going to affect the county in any way, shape, or form, and I support the variance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor of the application?
Good evening, Board. Ed Moran, Fifth District. I echo Mr. Campbell's statements. I can't see any other way. It's honorable for Mr. Engel to donate this land to Mr. Burlock. I've only known Justin for a few years. Got to know him on an issue. I like to call these buttons out here that automatically open the door, the Justin Spurlock buttons. He spearheaded that effort and we got it done this year. I encourage you to vote yes on this effort and get in his home. Maybe he'll throw us a party. Thank you.
Okay, would any other individuals like to speak for the application?
Good evening. I'm Bill Hodges from beautiful downtown West Point, District 1. I don't know Ms. Spurlock at all. I came up here because I heard about this. You're talking about shaving one, adding two. Come on, just do two and be done with it. It's not going to affect the county that much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hodges. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor?
I'm Kathy Morrison, District 2. I live at 80 Fieldway Court, and I'm on the school board. And I wanted to share a different perspective of Mr. Spurlock. Just so you know, I appreciate the consideration that you would give him to approve this variant. First of all, he works full time. He has his own entrepreneurial enterprise, Spurlock Designs, and he does decals for people in the county and outside the county. He did a special project at the high school, senior signs. He developed senior signs 4 years ago, during COVID, when our seniors couldn't graduate in public and all of that was having to be closed. And he's continued that every year since then. He comes to King William High School driver's ed classes and presents himself and his situation as he lives today, but he also reflects on how he got there. And he helps them understand how they can be safe and take care of themselves. He works on a board for the state Virginia Department of Aging and Rehabilitation Services. He represents King William County on that. And he also does fundraisers for disabled veterans organizations. So I appreciate any consideration you have for him. He's a very special person. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Marshall. All right, do we have any other speakers in favor of the application? Do we have any speakers in opposition of the application? All right. Hearing no more coming up to speak, I will go ahead and close the public comment period. Ms. Graham, have you guys gotten any correspondence in writing for or against the application?
None.
Okay. All right, at this point, the applicant has the opportunity to make any closing remarks or rebuttals.
I have none.
Okay, thank you. Does the board have any further questions from the applicant or?
Have none.
Okay, does the board feel like it is sufficiently informed and ready to make a decision?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm informed to make a decision.
Okay. All right, without objection, in accordance to Virginia Code 15.2-2309, powers and the duties of the Board of Zoning Appeals, I will entertain a motion to either approve or deny variance request B04-22.
Make a motion to approve.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Based on Mr. Engel's testimony and Mr. Spurlock's testimony and the reasons I stated earlier. I'd second that motion, with the caveat that Mr. Engel put a deed restriction on 3 acres of his property adjacent to the 2 acres, at least for the time period until the conservation easement is recorded. And that's just in keeping with the spirit of the ordinance.
Understood.
To keep that density. And I understand Mr. Engel has agreed to that condition.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Okay, so before us, we have a motion to approve the application with the condition that the 3 acres are entered into a deed restriction. That's right, okay. Ms. Graham or Ms. Grover, would you like to take the vote?
Mr. Nolan,
Yes,
Mr. Fogg,
Yes.
Mr. Bailey.
No.
And Ms. Walker.
Yes. Right, variance request B-04-22 is approved.
Thank you very much.
best of luck to you.
Yeah, good luck.
Best of luck to you.
Yes, and thank you to all of the speakers that came out. I have not seen an attendance like this for one of our meetings, so I think that speaks, for itself.
Well, thank you all for making a meeting this evening, listening to this. We plan on making everyone proud.
All right, and thank you everyone for your time.
May I make one more comment, if I may? Is that all right?
I guess, sure.
I just want to commend Mr. Engel over here for his efforts in this and helping Mr. Furlong.
Yes, that's a very generous thing.
It's my whole family, not just me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and next we have new business. Is there any new business?
Don't have any at this time. We don't have any upcoming applications right now. We will have a vacant seat, so if you know of anybody that is interested in serving on the Board of Zoning Appeals, I have completed.
Did actually speak with the gentleman this evening and I think may put an application in.
Okay.
Fingers crossed. All right, so no other business. If there are no objections, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
All right.
Anyone opposed? All right, the meeting is adjourned.